Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Cambridge Wines Royston Gin Tasting. I hope you're all well and surviving lockdown so far. We're absolutely thrilled to have been invited by the guys at Cambridge Wines to join you. So before we do anything else, please pour yourself a drink. We are going to be going through the range from dry to sweet. So hopefully you all like a gin and tonic if you're joining us this evening. So I would very much recommend pouring yourself a something dry. Go for the London Dry if you've got ours in front of you. So make yourself a drink first of all. So again, thank you for joining us. Some of you may have seen us in the shop before. We've worked alongside Kirby and the team for a couple of years now. So we are Gin. That is our main brand. Our distillery is Bottomley Distillers Limited. So the distillery came about. Alan came home from work one day in 2016, very, very pleased with himself, and said, "Babe, I've got it. We're going to make gin and grow Christmas trees. It will be brilliant." And I obviously carried on making dinner and was like, "Yeah, good one." And so for a little bit of context, before the day that Alan came home with this, he was the kind of chap that would see somebody with a canoe on their car on the motorway and instantly be on eBay trying to find himself a canoe, or see a plane in the sky and be looking for booking himself a pilot's lesson. So obviously, given his track record, I didn't really take him too seriously. So obviously he had come home and said this, and I thought nothing of it. And a couple of weeks later, a 1 litre copper pot still arrived. I'm sure you've all seen the sort of little miniature copper stills. So this arrived, and immediately my next thought was, stop wasting our bloody money. But so that arrived, and he had that for some time set up on the stove in the kitchen with a pipe running over to the tap in the sink, and a chair wedged up against the front of the door with sort of a tube catching everything into a wine bottle. I just wanted to make dinner for weeks, and he was just there with all of this weird and wonderful stuff going on, very illegally, of course. So he didn't quit on this one, which obviously I'm really pleased about now. But so around the time that was happening, we're in Lincolnshire. I should have mentioned that. So we're in Lincolnshire, and Lincolnshire's a little bit behind everybody else. So it tends to watch trends happen and maybe go, a bit risky, and doesn't really get involved. So even in 2016, when kind of a lot of the country is well on its way into gin world, Lincolnshire really wasn't. And so we were very fortunate. We had lots of friends down in London, and so we kind of knew about it because we would be going down and having drinks and sort of getting involved in the gin thing. So I think our perception about the gin scene was that there must have been a distillery somewhere in Lincolnshire. And so we started to look, obviously a little bit after Alan had this idea, and there wasn't. So there were no commercial distilleries in Lincolnshire at all, which naturally then we kind of thought, well, if we're going to do it, we should probably try and be the first. So that was that. So we then embarked upon the journey. I say we, very much Alan still at this point. Embarked upon the journey of starting to see what we could do. I, not long after that, and nothing to do with the gin, fell pregnant with our daughter Molly. So if you follow our social media already, then you'll have seen the odd picture of her pop up every now and then, full of mischief. So I was pregnant for pretty much the entire tasting time. So I was actually the person that liked gin. I introduced it to Alan. And then all through the tasting period of our own gin, I didn't get to have any at all. So I just sat there really fat and angry, watching everybody else be passed all of these different recipes, and kind of being, everybody was asked for their feedback. It was okay though, I liked it in the end, so it all was well. So we went through most of 2016, and we had Molly at the end of November, and then launched our business, launched the Gin to the market in February 2017, and we launched with our London Dry some of you may have seen a slightly different bottle. So we used to have a round bottle with a clear label, which at the time we thought was fabulous. Oh, it's brilliant. Nobody else has got a clear label. That's for a very good reason, because you can't bloody see what it says on it if it's sat on a shelf. So we learned quite a few different things, the hard way, some the easy way. Yeah, so that was what we launched to market with our London Dry, and that's where it all began. You may have noticed, I'm not in my distillery. So the distillery is currently, as I'm sure a lot of people have talked about in these tastings, currently fully switched to sanitizer production because obviously of the COVID-19 pandemic. Our beautiful bar that was upstairs is now half of somebody's office, half cardboard storage, half lots of other things. That's a lot of halves. I know that doesn't quite add up. So I thought I would just do the filming at home rather than trying to climb over boxes to make something look pretty in the background. We will share, obviously, with Kirby and the team lots of pictures of the stills and things. So if anybody would like to have a look, and you can obviously follow us on social as well. So hopefully you're enjoying your dry gin and tonic, if that's what you've chosen to have while I've been chatting along. We'll let you just have a little regroup. We'll be doing our London Dry tasting in 1 minute when we come back. Thank you. Okay, so we are ready to taste some gin. So you might have noticed I did not pour a drink with you in the beginning. I recently have done a series of live streams on Saturday nights on our Facebook page, and for quite a few of them I've actually got a little bit drunk, so relatively coherent, or as coherent as I am in the beginning, not so much at the end. So I'm very much pacing myself and going to try and be as responsible as possible. I can't obviously guarantee how that's going to go. So the best sound in the world, there we go. So if you are partial to trying your gin neat, we always recommend to try your gin neat. Gin at room temperature, and you're going to get all of the best flavours coming through, and the alcohol, the aromas are going to come through from all of the botanicals that are in there. So if you're brave enough, have a little splash neat first. I know you've only got 50ml tasters, so obviously if you're sharing with someone, then there might not be enough to have a full taste first. So our London Dry, where are we? There we go. So our London Dry was the first creation to leave our distillery. It went through 19 different recipes from when Alan first started playing around with flavours and kind of understanding what flavours worked with everything. So Alan's background is engineering, absolutely nothing to do with flavour profiles or spirit production. And so one of our very good friends is a chef, and Stephen was really, really useful for just imparting a little bit of knowledge to Alan, and kind of just explaining a little bit, and working with him, and kind of just exploring what flavours work with what flavours. And that was just so crucial in the beginning to understanding. Alan's very mathematical. I think that comes with his engineering, and so he was almost able to extract the kind of information that he had from Stephen with regards to flavours and things, and apply that to distillation. So the 19 different recipes that he had to begin with, again, I didn't get to try any of them. There is a big magic box with all of them in somewhere. I think it's under the stairs in the distillery, but so it doesn't get opened very often. So every time he had made a different recipe, there was some of them that had kind of little tweaks, or just maybe sort of less one ingredient added in another. There were some that had quite substantial changes, and quite a few different botanicals in them. Alan would go into his board meeting on a Monday morning, and all of the directors of the business he worked for would all be sat there trying them, and everybody had a scoring card to see what they thought. And there was one that stood out through the whole way, and always got the best remarks. So from that one, he then distilled 2 further recipes. Both of those are the just little tweaks here and there. For context, when we're saying little tweaks, it really can be. So in our say with our 100 litre still Rose, she's our smallest production still that we use, she in a full load will have maybe 4 kilograms of juniper berry, but just 20 grams of rose, dried rose petals. So when you smell the London dry gin, you already get that floral aroma from the lavender. So even at that scale, just 20 grams of rose. So obviously when you're doing testing on a small scale, literally just the tiniest the tiniest amount can make such a big difference to the flavour and where it sits within that flavour. So there were 2 variants that were then distilled, and then again everybody got to try all of those with tweaks here and there, and then it was down to the final one that then had a couple more distillations with a few more tweaks, and then we had our London Dry. So that's how we came to have our London Dry. So if you have got it neat, then have a good swill around, get the aromas moving. So for a lot of people, you're going to get some rose and lavender on your nose. So the first part is the floral side. So we use rose petals and lavender in there. I'm famous on my Saturday night Facebook videos for my neat gin face. So be prepared for this, because you're going to see it a lot tonight. I will never in my life get used to drinking neat gin. So after trying it neat, so what we want to do when we're sipping neat gin, we have lots of taste buds around the side and back of our mouth that we don't really tend to use that much. And the reason why we're tasting the neat gin is we really want to get that liquid back and to coat the back of your tongue and round the side of your mouth. So as much as my face always does what it just did while we're drinking neat gin, that is no reflection on how delicious that gin is, and I really actually enjoy it. I need to tell my face that, I know. So with any kind of craft distilled spirit, there should be no harsh anything harsh as it goes down. There should be no burn. Obviously it is alcohol, and it is high strength alcohol, and you will know that. It's not like kind of drinking a Baileys or something, but it shouldn't burn, it shouldn't be harsh. You should be able to taste those flavours. So everybody's tastes are different. Everybody's smells, everybody's kind of taste profiles work in different ways, but for the masses, if you like, the rose and the lavender comes through on the nose, like we said about to begin with, and then a lot of people will get the cinnamon and peppercorns, which are our 2 kind of warmer flavours from the middle of the neat gin, and they tend to kind of go round really in the back of your. And those flavours are really in the back of your taste buds. For some people, and not for everybody, you will then get a little bit of the sweetness from the licorice root that we use in our gin as well. And so the licorice root comes through almost to the top of your mouth, and almost a minute or so after, which is a really nice sweetness that follows, especially if you've got that warmth, that warmth as it goes down. I can still feel that warmth now from the cinnamon and the peppercorns. So it's definitely one that can warm you up on a cold day. So with that sweetness that comes through at the top, for a lot of people that is the licorice root coming through. Most people won't really taste too much of the other botanicals, because the way that they develop with the spirit, they don't tend to come to the front until the tonic is added in. So with your packs, you will have been sent an Indian tonic and an elderflower tonic. So there are a couple of variations that we sometimes have through the range, and we'll go through those when we get there. But for our London Dry, we would just recommend a normal Indian tonic anyway. So we work with Fever Tree as our spirit partner. They are obviously, as you all know, kind of at the forefront of the premium spirit category, or premium mixer category, sorry. The reason we use them is because we know that pretty much all of their range, with all of our range, you're going to get a decent drink out of it, and it's that guarantee from their flavour set that works really nicely with ours, that we're going to get a nice drink out of it. So we would go Indian tonic with this one, and just a slice of orange, just fresh orange in there. So we use fresh orange peel and lemon peel in the distillation anyway, so the citric acid level of the Indian tonic water is enough to bring those citrus flavours to the front. There will be perhaps, and obviously you can't tell us straight away, there may be a cucumber in the room. So we use cucumber as one of our botanicals, and it's a flavour that's quite dominant, if you know it's there, and yet it's one that maybe if we have a room full of 50 people doing a tasting, there will only be one cucumber, and they obviously, it's all they can taste, and everybody around them is like, what's this lunatic on? Because it's quite, there's not too much in there, but it's just a nice filler, and it just binds those flavours together. Obviously cucumber has quite a high water content as well. So that is our London Dry. I'm going to leave you for a minute and catch a breath, and I'll see you in a moment. Hello, and thank you for hanging on. I do talk a lot, so bear with me. So the next one, I think the chap from Copper Cloud said we do it as if you would a meal. So we start with the driest and then work through the range. So that's obviously how we're working it tonight as well. So here we go. So we're going Valencian orange next. So if you've not tried our Valencian orange, it's still a dry gin, but just with a sweeter citrus tone to it. So the extra oranges are added in at the end, so we cannot call it a London Dry gin. So London Dry by style, I'm sure you've been told this in the last few weeks, but I'll just recap anyway. So London Dry by style, nothing is to be added after the distillation process apart from water, and our extra oranges go in at the end. So we use our London Dry as the base for our full range, which makes it relatively easy to obviously produce the amendments, because we just do a massive distillation of our London Dry, and then obviously it goes into the blending tank, and the extra oranges go in with that one, the strawberries go in for the pink. So with our orange, so again, if you're going for the neat tasting first, then have a little bit poured out ready for you. So this on the nose is incredibly citrusy. So the orange just really packs a punch there, and you notice it straight away. Almost quite deceiving because you don't realise that you are still then going to get that dryness at the front. So Amy's gin face. Again, deceiving because I actually like it. So with the orange, if you remember back to the London Dry that we've just tasted, that warmth from the cinnamon and peppercorn is still very much there, but the sweetness and the citrus that comes to the middle is obviously quite a big wallop of. So with this one, we would usually, and again, that licorice root still comes through as a little bit of sweetness towards the top, if your palate kind of provides those flavours for you. Some people, it might just be that citrus because it is very dominant. Still a nice warm flavour. So in a normal non-lockdown world where we've got the choice of everything, we would go for a Mediterranean tonic with this one. The reason for that is we're guessing that if you're after a citrusy gin, then you want a nice citrusy gin and tonic, and that's exactly what the Mediterranean provides. Similarly, if you look to the Fentimans range, then you've got the Connoisseur's tonic, and again, that's delivering a similar kind of profile. There are a few in, obviously, I know a lot of the other premium mixer categories that do something similar with that kind of increased flavour in there. But as much as we do use those, there is plenty of citrus in this to hold its own with an Indian tonic all day long, and so that's why we would recommend with the tasting we're doing this evening to go for the normal tonic. So the garnish that we would recommend for this again is just a slice of orange. So if you want to go down the herby route, then we would say rosemary. The increased citrus in there. Sorry, little flies. Oh, I've got the door open, so all the wildlife's coming in. So the increased citrus in there, and those just kind of really fresh fruity flavours just go really nicely with a bit of herb. So personally, I really enjoy the rosemary. I don't have a massive sweet tooth, and so by adding the rosemary in there, it's almost bringing it back to earth. As much as I like that citrus hit, I really enjoy the earthiness that the rosemary delivers. So if you've got some rosemary in the kitchen, chuck one of those in there, and you'll enjoy that. It's quite a similar profile to Gin Mare, for example, or if you're not going down the herby route, then if you look towards the sort of Tanqueray Seville perhaps, but ours isn't quite as sweet as that. I like the citrus from the Tanqueray, but it's just a little bit too sweet for me, so I can maybe only have one, and then that's about me sweetened. But with this one, I can have more than one, which is how we like to do it. So this is our Valencian orange. The Valencian orange only came to market in I think it was September, October last year. So we released it at the same time as our spice gin, which we'll get to in a moment. And yeah, it completed our family of 4. So we then had the London Dry Premium Pink, orange and spice. So kind of sits in the 4 main categories of where most people's gin tastes are. So you've got your dry, your sweet, your citrus, and your spiced. They're kind of the 4 core areas, and that's what we really wanted to achieve. We wanted to have as much coverage as we could, and so that's why the orange came to be. So I'll let you hopefully you've poured yourself a nice Valencian orange and tonic. So either Indian, if you've got that, if you've got Medin as well, then brilliant. Have a try with both. Again, everybody's tastes are different, so I can say you have to have this and this, but you might like it a little bit different, and we always say absolutely have a play with those flavours and kind of see what floats your boat, so to speak. Right, so I'll leave you with that for a moment, and I'll be back in a second. Thank you. Okay, so I hope you're doing okay with your drink so far. So next up we have our spiced gin. So the spiced isn't one for everybody. It's definitely a kind of set flavor profile. So again, with our London Dry as the core spirit, but with this one we do slightly play with the recipe, and we distill it with we add in ginger, we increase the peppercorns and the cinnamon, and then we add in some star anise as well. So you've got the added star anise and ginger. So with the cinnamon as well, it's almost like a winter spice kind of flavour profile, and it's very reminiscent of that. If you perhaps, with exception of the lack of coriander, it's kind of down the au pair route, but not with that distinct coriander. And we've never used coriander in any of our spirits. It's a botanical that I think you love or hate. It's a little bit Marmite, and we're definitely on the hate side of it. So it's so it's quite au pair-esque, but without that really definitive coriander seed taste. So taking the lid off there, and we're gonna pour ourselves a little. So same with all of them. If you're having a taste neat, then give it a nice swirl around. So with this one, it's very similar on the nose to the London Dry, because you've still got those florals that come through a little bit, but you can definitely just kind of get an idea that there's something a little bit different in there. So with this one, the difference in those spices really gets you in the middle. the warmth as it goes down. My gin face was quite good there, wasn't it? The warmth as it goes down is very, like I said about the Winter Spice Collective, it is very much that kind of spice intensity. So with this one, we have a couple of options for how we serve it. If we're going down the tonic route, then we definitely say Indian, because of that flavour set. You don't really want to be adding too much other flavour in there, because it's just going to detract from what those spices are doing. So if you're going for an Indian tonic, then we would say garnish perhaps with a little bit of ginger, or definitely with some fresh lime if you want a bit of citrus in there. We also, I know gin and ginger's a little bit of a thing. Some people do, some people don't. But we would really encourage you to have a try next time you've got some ginger ale in with our spiced. It's just something a little bit different to do with your gin. Good Lord, if you didn't fancy a gin and tonic, I don't think that ever happens, does it? But if you didn't and you just wanted something a bit different, then some ginger ale in there and a squeeze of fresh lime as well. So, with ginger ale and gin, again, it's definitely always personal preference, but our recommendation / advice would be, if you want to taste your gin in there, you don't really want to go more than 50-50, because a 50-50 mix of ginger and gin, ginger is a really, really strong flavour, and if you're using something like the Fever Tree one, which obviously we would say to use, then or a lot of again the sort of from the Schweppes dark mixer range as well, from all of those, we would say it's a very distinct and strong flavour, and so you need enough spirit in there to be able to hold its own. But if you don't want to taste your gin and you just want to have a tasty ginger ale with a bit of a kick in there, then put as much as you like in. So because I didn't pull too much of a face, I'm going to have another go on that one. There we go, that was quite good, wasn't it? So we've just got left to do now what is essentially dessert. So that's the kind of the savoury set. Thank you for sticking around for dessert. So our premium pink, we launched our premium pink in 2018, so this was kind of just going into our second year. The market was very much about pink gin then, and it's still there now and still has its place, but we're definitely seeing a shift away from that. It is almost like a gateway gin, pink gin, isn't it? Because it's a lot of the time very sweet, lends itself to pink gin and lemonade, and definitely a gateway gin. So a lot of people who don't necessarily like gin for its actual qualities, the kind of dryness and the bitterness that you get from tonic, kind of joining in with the gin bandwagon because of the entry level gin, sort of with a lot sweeter and easier and tasty to drink. I am very dry and bitter, so I like proper gin and tonic. So we knew that we needed something pink. So when it first came about, it was our pin gin strawberry infused, because that's exactly what it was. So it was our base pin gin infused with strawberries. When we rebranded from this, so that had its old clear bottle with the clear label. When we rebranded into the new bottle style and label style, there was quite a bit of confusion over whether the premium pink or strawberry infused was in fact pink gin. So I'm sure a lot of you would consider a pink gin to be an old cocktail, which is a cocktail that used to be made with Angostura bitters, and that's kind of what would be a pink gin. Nowadays, obviously, it's usually something very sweet and fruity. So even though our gin was gin and it was pink, it didn't have the word pink on the bottle, and that caused more confusion than you would actually imagine. So people would come up to us and say, "Oh, I like pink gin. Is this pink gin?" And we'd say, "Well, it's gin and it's pink." but we knew that we needed to fix that problem because that was just something that came along with it. Pink gin had kind of launched into the market as a thing, and we needed to correct that for marketing purposes more than anything else. So strawberry infused was no more, and premium pink was born into the new bottle and the new label, and you would be very surprised at how many people tell us that they have had both, but they definitely prefer our premium pink to our strawberry infused, which is interesting considering it's definitely the same liquid. Perception is very powerful, isn't it? So if we go for a little taste of the pink. So this one, kind of like the orange, is quite deceiving. So to the nose, very sweet, and if, like me, you don't like sweet things, you're going to... I like sweet things, I don't like sweet drinks. You're going to smell that, and you're almost going to think, oh, bloody hell, too sweet for me. But give it a go and see what you think. So it was a good gin face again there, wasn't it? I'm getting good. To the front of the tongue, sweetness, definitely. But now you'll be familiar with the kind of pinging warmth, if you like, and that cinnamon and peppercorn is still there. You've still got that nice spice at the back. Strawberry and black peppercorn is a kind of age-old flavour combination, and so it just works. You get a good amount of dryness to the front still, even with that sweetness once that's passed. The rest of the sweetness goes towards the top. So you know that you've drank something sweet, but you also know that you've drank something kind of 40%, and there's a good wallop of gin in there as well. So for our serve for this one, with your packs, there will have been an elderflower tonic. So if you like elderflower tonic, this does actually go really nicely with our London Dry as well. So it's always one, if you fancy something a bit different, or kind of when the sun's shining, to make the most of the elderflower. If you just fancy something a bit sweeter, then it's a nice one with that too. So the elderflower in there. Gin world as a whole tends to avoid flavoured gins with flavoured tonics. There are a few exceptions, but when we first created the premium pink, or strawberry infused, tried it with lots of different flavours and lots of different tonics, and the elderflower was just really tasty. I tend to refer to it as a G&T light, because you've got a bit of dryness in the gin, you've got a bit of bitterness from the tonic, but everything's just a bit sweeter, just a bit lighter. If I'm going to have this one as a long drink, I need some citrus in there just to cut through that sweetness a little bit. But that's my taste. If you like sweet things, then you want to really be adding in some fresh strawberries, or if you've got the kind of stash of, if you're a parent and you've got that frozen berry stash in the freezer, chuck some of them in there as well, and that's just going to really sweeten it a little bit more too. It will take the edge of the bitterness from the tonic as well. So if you're kind of a bit tentative about the tonic side, then adding the berry fruit in there is just gonna sweeten that up a little bit. But yeah, for me, I definitely need a bit of lime in there. So I think that that's it for the premium pink. I hope you've enjoyed our full range of pin gins. So we've just got one more little treat for you coming up. So finish the last of your gins, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I hope you're ready for the last one of the evening. So this is Rum Cat. So obviously you are doing a gin tasting, so a bit of a curveball here. So Rum Cat came about when we still had the distillery in the garage, back in the first year, and Alan had drawn a picture of our cat. Very much a cartoon style picture, not this one. Very talented man did this one. So it was, as you would imagine a child to draw a cat, a circle with two triangle ears, and he'd written Rum Cat underneath it. So Alan's had quite an unhealthy relationship with the cat for a while, and I think there's something going on there. So Alan adores the cat, drew a picture of her on the chalkboard, and Rum Cat, everybody would come into the house / waiting room for the garage distillery, and see this on the chalkboard on the wall and say, oh, do you make rum now? And obviously we didn't for a really long time, and we moved into our new distillery, a proper one that wasn't in the garage, in 2018, in the November of 2018, and so it was kind of all systems go really from building the new distillery from that point, and it just got put on the back burner a little bit. We had this idea Rumcat was going to be, for a very long time, even when we were sort of in meetings with our designer who designed our new brand, or the kind of this one. We told him about Rumcat, and he was very excited for over a year to get the call to say, right, design Rumcat. So we knew that we wanted something just for everybody to enjoy, really. So we use Caribbean sugarcane, and we then distill that with cinnamon and ginger and banana and pineapple. So we put fresh bananas and pineapple, cinnamon and ginger all into the still. And this is our golden rum. So if there's any of you that are rum drinkers, you'll definitely notice when you have a taste and eat. So this is the one that I'm going to join you for a drink on. So I'm gonna put a bit more in there. I've taken a bit of a fancy to this, so I don't think I've really enjoyed rum for quite a few years after maybe having a bit too much sort of Sailor Jerry and Captain Morgan's back in the day. So the Rumcat, if you smell it, then for my taste, I get the banana straight away. So that to me wouldn't normally make me want to drink it, because I like bananas. I don't really like banana flavoured things, but it's just got enough kind of rum, and it's just got enough punch behind it to not make it, to just make it smell really bloody lovely. So that's tasty. So what we're going to do with our Rumcat, you will now, if you've had a drop neat, as I have, you'll taste rum, but you'll get that fruity, that banana and pineapple kind of quite tropical flavour now. So with this one, obviously we've provided you with tonics to go with. If you don't have any ginger ale in, then I would say probably don't put a tonic in there, because rum and tonic's not really an age old. If you've got any cola in, then cola's going to go really nicely in there. If you haven't got any ginger or cola, I would say just go with some fresh lime. So squeeze some fresh lime, and hopefully you'll have got that in for your tasting. So even if you don't have a mixer, if you put that fresh lime in there and then go to drink it, that is going to be already just that flavour. It makes you kind of think that you're on a beach and there's palm trees, and it's a lot nicer than being in lockdown in Britain at the moment. So already with the lime in there, that's starting to taste like a cocktail. So for me, because again, this is the one I'm going to join you with, I've added some ginger ale in there, so that now is delicious. So the Rumcat, yeah, so our cat is a girl, Puss is a girl, but Rumcat seems to have assumed an identity as a guy, so that's fine. He looks a bit gnarly. If you order any Rumcat from the website, then you do get a pirate eye patch. So just to let you know, that probably is worth getting one just for that. So he was ready for release the week before lockdown. So we took him up to one event that we did in Glasgow, and it was about 2 weeks before our lockdown here. And it's obviously been something that we've had on the burner for so long, and so to have his thunder stolen a little bit was a bit sad, a little bit disappointing. But so we're really pleased that Kirby and the team have given us the chance to share him with you tonight. I really do hope that you enjoy him. He's just a bit of fun. He's a bit of fun. He's a nice, playful drink, nothing too serious. Hopefully you'll enjoy it as well. If you've got any fruit juice in, actually, maybe some pineapple juice or something, that's going to get really nice in there, and he's going to make a really tasty rum cocktail. The possibilities of them are endless, because you've got that spice in there which goes really nicely with the ginger ale, but you've got that fruity sweetness as well. Is very, very very handy for majority of kind of rum based cocktails. So he had his thunder stolen a little bit, but we're kind of doing what we can to shout about him along the way. And so I hope you've enjoyed Rum Cat. Thank you. And so that was our tasting. Thank you for joining us with our tasting at Cambridge Wines. This is our distillery dog, Wilson, by the way. You might notice a slight costume change from all of the tastings to today. We've had some technical issues with my videos. Good old rural Lincolnshire internet. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you've all enjoyed yourselves. Please do look out for hopefully lots of special offers for all of our gins through Cambridge Wines over the next few days, and we hope to see you all again soon. Thank you very much.